This is Optimus Prime and Soundwave from the Transformers Reactivate game. And I also want to talk about some potential false advertising Hasbro did for these figures. Here's a quick look at the front. The plastic packaging is back. Here's a quick look at the back of the box art. So now let's get into it. One of these figures is amazing, fantastic.
Sugoi.
It cooks.
Super.
The other one is, what am I looking at? Now these come in a 2-pack and it's a little bit pricey. It's around $63, which may hurt the bank, but it's not as bad as that recent HasLab, which I want, but won't be able to afford. Maybe I should start an OnlyFans. I mean, all my friends have one. The price does kind of make sense. The plastic quality for both is pretty good. Well, mostly this one. You get a really nice Voyager class Optimus Prime and a really interesting deluxe class Soundwave. I think you might have something on your back there. Oh, it's a majority of the vehicle mode. I definitely do think the Optimus Prime is the better looking one of the two. It seemed like a lot more effort was put into this Optimus Prime. He looks so good. He is taller because he is a Voyager class figure, but the initial images show them both being the same height and that both figures are 6.5 inches. That is a lie. Optimus is a bit over 7 inches and I do like big figures. And just like me, Soundwave isn't even 6 inches. Honestly though, the description was probably written by a bot. No, not that type of bot. For this, Hasbro does mess up in their promo images a lot, and if I'm being honest, I've made mistakes too in videos. So anyways, Soundwave looks like a twink standing next to him. Leave a comment below if you're also a twink. Wait, no, don't comment that. Now it's always a bad idea to commit an atrocity. So why would you want to commit an atrocity on your back? Because this video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. That was a really weird segue. FlexiSpot sent me a chair. I'm sitting on it right now. And you might think to yourself, ooh, woo, it's just a chair. What's so special? Well, it's comfy. Like seriously, my wait a minute. No cursing. My rear, my twerker, my badonkadonk is so comfy now. My old chair was starting to go bad and was uncomfortable. So when FlexiSpot reached out to me, it was like a call from the heavens. It can be adjusted to comfort people and Transformers of all body types. The lower part can adjust itself to your seating position and you can lock it in place. You can lean it back, slide the seat forward, adjust the height, the headrest. The armrest can move up and down and rotate. There's even a footrest. My badonkadonk feels so relieved from pressure, and my twerker doesn't feel fatigued after hours of sitting. Also, if you're insane like me, you can use a 20-inch seat to sit like an anime character who doesn't go outside. I can also sleep in it. It's great for anyone who sits at a desk for long hours, like a full-time YouTuber. Use code C730 for a $30 discount. That's code C730. Now back to the video. So now with Optimus Prime, I really like the way he looks. He is really up there as one of the best looking Optimus Prime figures. He is G1 inspired because for some reason that's all Optimus can be nowadays. I really liked it when they tried out new designs like in the Unicron trilogy, and with Robots in Disguise, I really want that HasLab. But at the same time, this is really good and I do like the stylization. This piece is a little loose, however. He has a slightly more bulky appearance than some other Optimus Primes. Well, maybe except for this one. His red and blue are a bit on the darker side, and he does have some silver paint applications throughout him, which really help accentuate the figure. Looking at some supposed concept art for this figure, it does seem to be pretty accurate. Now, will the game be any good? I don't have my hopes up for that. But I will try to play it on my gaming channel, and this channel will probably also have other stuff besides gaming, so subscribe to that. I can't get over how good this figure looks. This is a robot you would call daddy. Going straight into the head, the sculpt is really good, and the little details are nicely defined. The mouth plate looks really nice. I do like all the little designs they added onto there. It's not my favorite head sculpt, as I do think the eyes are a little bit too tiny. There is some light blue paint in there for them. Not the best Optimus Prime head sculpt, but a really good one. For its articulation, it can move up and down, and you do get a full 360 rotation and a tilt. You can also utilize this for some movement. Now I really like the way his shoulders look. Very stylized, and I feel like the silver bit just really adds to the look. And then we have the classic Autobot insignia on the shoulders as always on both sides. The smokestacks are done really well and painted in that nice silver. Unfortunately for the arms, we do have some ugly gaps over here, meaning we need to throw this figure into a lava pit because it is now worthless. The gaps are really ugly and really do detract from what is an amazing figure. Now the rest of the arms look really nice, very bulky and bold, which does fit Optimus Prime. The sculpt on here is done really well. You don't really get any insane amounts of detail on it, maybe this part on the back here, which is mainly for the vehicle mode. Now what is really nice is that these bits do fold out for the vehicle mode and basically form part of the truck mode, and I like how they seamlessly just integrate into the robot mode. That is really nice. We can spin this a full 360, we can bring this up all the way over there, bicep rotation and elbow bend. A disappointing only $90 90-degree elbow bend. There's only a single joint on this despite this being a Voyager class figure, and sometimes they tend to have double hinges for the elbow bend. For example, this Studio Series, wait no, that's a knockoff. For example, this Studio Series Optimus Prime does have a double hinge for the elbows over here as well as over here. A 90-degree elbow bend on a Voyager class figure is more disappointing than this year's presidential election. Ooh, we're talking about politics again. And now he has hands for holding things. They do look nice. They're nice hands. Very, very solid looking hands. They can rotate. Okay, moving on. Now the chest, his big old boobies, his man boobs, they're nice. We have those truck lights at the top, and despite being so tiny, I appreciate how they are painted in silver. It could have been something that was easily missed. Further down, we get the classic Optimus style chest area, some nice detail on the sides over here, some transparent windows through where you can see something interesting. We will get to that. A tiny detail I like always are the windshield wipers they add. Another thing that could have been easily forgotten, but I think pretty much every G1 style Prime has this. Now back to the chest area. It's nice, but there is something kind of flawed about it. So all of this is paint. And if you don't believe me, we can open this up. And as you can see through the plastic, this side is just entirely painted. And since it is a translucent plastic piece, I do recommend being careful with it. But now since we do have this opened, let's take a look at the matrix. Yes, you can take this out. It is a pretty standard looking matrix. The same as some prior releases we've seen on Optimus Prime figures. It does seem like the paint job on mine is kind of sloppy, and the matrix chamber inside him does have some details. Nothing too fancy though. There's also a 5mm port in here, which is interesting. So if you wanted to do this for some reason, you could do that. I don't know why you would. Where'd I put the matrix? Oh, there it is. Put that in there. Now once again, this area is just a tiny bit loose, which I do kind of find to be a little bit annoying, but it doesn't seem like it's that big of a hindrance, at least at the moment. Now the abdomen area looks pretty good with those silver paint applications, and I really like the layered look it has. The entire sculpt work just all over here is done so well. Now if we lick the arms, now if we lift the arms, we will see some weird battle damage stuff over here that I do not like. I will talk about this more in the vehicle mode, but it does look very ugly when the rest of the figure has a more pristine and clean look to it. Also, what is up with my thumb? How did that get there? This is recent. I have hours of footage of my hands. Well, I hope I don't have skin cancer. Now down here we do get waist rotation. It does run into these back pieces over here, which kind of feels like a major design flaw. So don't go around spinning it like all the way because this might just break. Now down to the legs. Luckily the legs here don't have any hollow sections. Thank God. And the rest of the legs do look really nice. Very chunky. And there is a little bit of nice detail all throughout it. I don't like this little nub mark over there though. But anyways, back again. Yeah, I do like a whole lot of the details on here. The wheels are back here. And also another thing I like are these gap fillers at the back for the robot mode. I appreciate they didn't just leave it like this because that does look kind of ugly and will make the figure feel a little bit cheap. Also, I do like how there's some detail inside here. Very nice stuff. Good job, Hasbro. Now if only my Armada Prime didn't come with a scratch. Leg articulation out to the side. We can bring it forward. Leg rotation can go back all the way over there. Once again, just be careful of that. A knee bend, a very good knee bend actually. In fact, if we were to move this out of the way, we can move it a little bit more like that, but then we get this piece sticking out and that looks ugly. His leg does also bend in a little bit, which is kind of annoying. And down to the feet, these do hinge out for a pivot, but there is no back and forth movement. That did kind of hinder some of the posing for me. Now turning the figure over to the back, it is kind of messy here. It's not too bad. I think they did the best they could with what they got. What I do like are some of these thruster details underneath. That is really cool, and they show up in the vehicle mode. I am wondering if this is just for aesthetics or if they do get used in the game to help him like jump or something. Also, we get some really nice spinal detail back here that also has this nice layered look to it, and I do like how the wheels are tucked away in the back. And coming down here, I do not like how these grill bits are sticking out. They're meant for the sides of the truck mode. As you saw earlier, it does hinder some of the articulation, especially for the waist and legs. Just be careful with it so it doesn't break. Only an idiot would break their figures. I am that idiot. Honestly, this figure is just so good looking, and it's kind of a shame that Soundwave didn't get that same treatment. We will get to him in a second, but first let's take a look at Optimus Prime's accessories. We did already talk about his matrix of leadership, but in addition to that, he gets an ion blaster as always and an energon axe.
You have my sword. And my axe.
Now the energon axe is really interesting to me. His axe is always usually a bright orange color, but instead this one has a lot of black in it, and there's like a lot of it at the bottom. And then you get some like outlined over here, which these are some nice designs, but this is a very interesting choice. You simply put it on the figure like so, and from the front it does look nice. But when you turn it over to the back, it kind of falls apart. I don't really like that. And if you don't have it posed from the right angle, it's just gonna look really bad like that. I kind of wish it was like bulkheads thing, which would open up and then you put it on the figure and then you can close it. It's not going to work on this, but you get the point. That's how it works on Legacy Bulkhead. Please come out. It's stuck in there now. Oh God. Now we get his classic Ion Blaster, and this is a really nice sculpt for an Ion Blaster. This appears to be a very new sculpt, and I do like all the tiny designs going on through it. Luckily, this one looks great on both sides. It is in a nice matte black color. Now my only problem with this is that it doesn't hold very well. We can put it on him, but the grip is pretty loose. The handle needs to be a lot longer so it could fit in there better, and this arm piece does kind of get in the way. If this was a bit longer, things would be a lot better.
That's what I say to myself every day.
Now I think it might be fun to compare this figure to Optimus Prime from the War for Cybertron Studio Series release. Reactivate Optimus kind of towers over War for Cybertron Optimus. I do genuinely like both of these figures, but holding them side by side, I think this one is a lot better. The plastic quality on this one does feel a bit cheap, and there is a bit of looseness to him. I have done a review on this. One thing I really like about this over this is I genuinely think the Matrix chamber in here looks so much better than the one here, but this could be how it's like in the game, so I can't really say much there. We don't know at this point, and I do like how they decided to give this his own Matrix instead of just reusing an older Matrix. Also, this just came off when I tried to close that. That's great. That's another thing. Genuinely, quality-wise, I think this figure is so much better, and design-wise, they're both entirely different. I'm kind of leaning towards this. That's personal preference, but in terms of quality, I'm thinking this is the better figure. Also, in terms of kibble management, there's really not a whole lot of kibble on here. It's mainly like in the back area, while over here we have some ugly kibble bits on the legs. Comparing him alongside the Studio Series Rise of the Beast figure, you can see a lot of the similarities in designs between the two because they are both inspired by G1 Optimus, so there's no surprise there. Height-wise, Reactivate Optimus is slightly taller.
And for another comparison, here he is next to the Volvo Optimus. As you can see, Reactivate Prime is pretty tall, but compared to the optional girl, everyone is a twink.
So let's rank the robot mode on this guy before we get to Soundwave and then the vehicle modes for both of them.
I give this figure a solid 8 out of 10 white girls who are obsessed with crystals. In fact, maybe even 9 out of 10 white girls.
He has a few minor issues, but overall, an amazing figure. And you know what? You're also amazing, so make sure to leave a like and subscribe because you guys think I'm amazing too, right? Now let's move on to Soundwave. Oh boy, what happened here? This is the pinnacle of a not so good looking Soundwave. The Bumblebee Studio Series Soundwave had a terrible vehicle mode, but a great robot mode.
Why are you the way you are? I hate so much about the things you choose to be.
This has a terrible robot mode and a pretty alright looking vehicle mode actually. Well, maybe the robot mode isn't so bad. No, I take that back. What the hell is this backpack? Is he carrying the weight of his existential dread? What is this? This is terrible. If I brought this to the President of the United States in his office, he would have his Secret Service tackle me. Not because this is a bad figure, but because I am a brown person and I am in the Oval Office. The head sculpt on this figure, it's pretty good. I will give it that. It is definitely not the best Soundwave head sculpt, but it does have a lot of nice detail on it, and it is very mechanical looking because he's a robot who should be. The mouthpiece also looks very nice. I do like that. A whole lot of designs going on there, which really make it stand out, and his eyes are painted in red. The head sculpt is something that does scream Soundwave if you were to look at it. The head can move up and down. We can rotate it as well. This piece does kind of come off pretty easily, so that is another downside to this figure. Now the chest piece, it does look like the classic Soundwave. It's very dusty. Now the chest piece does look like the classic Soundwave chest piece. We do get that yellow outline and the Decepticon insignia in the middle, which this does not open and close, which is kind of disappointing.
So you couldn't really do anything with a Ravage figure.
I guess you could kind of do this though. That doesn't work. That looks stupid. Don't do that. Please close back up. I hate the way this is designed and how it comes together. It's awful. The head and chest are really the only thing on here that resembles Soundwave. I feel like if you were to replace the head, you could probably make this an entirely different figure. Now the shoulders are sculpted very well. We do have a bit of red paint on here, and the rest of the sculpt for the arms is pretty nice. We do have some silver paint over here. Unfortunately, some hollow. Oh god, all these hollow bits over here. Ugh.
Like what if God made humans and then gave them hollow bits? Like how would I don't know what I'm talking about.
But the rest of it, you know, it's passable. Arms can move out to the side. We do get a rotation. We get a bicep rotation, 90-degree elbow bend, and rotation. And I really don't like how you can see the peg like that. Also, I do want to mention the plastic quality of this kind of feels a lot cheaper than the Optimus Prime one. It could just be because this is a smaller figure, so it just feels lighter, and that could just be throwing me off after holding this figure. I do like some of the little abdomen details over here for the figure. And we get some lights from that vehicle mode. Moving down to the rest of the figure, I'm looking at my script right now and realizing I
didn't write anything beyond this, so we're just gonna play it by ear. We do get some silver paint applications over here, and the rest of it looking pretty basic. We get a waist rotation, and this one can spin all the way around without bumping into anything. Sculpt work for the legs is pretty alright. Once again, some hollow bits over here. On the back, nothing too special. The rest of this is designed just alright. I mean, there's nothing super special about this. I kind of don't like how these stick out. It kind of ruins the whole silhouette of the figure. The legs can move pretty far up over there. We can bring them out to the side about there. We can't really bring them back. We do get a leg rotation and a knee bend, which is pretty good. Coming down to the feet, that's not a whole lot to say there. Just like the Optimus Prime, the feet cannot move back and forth, but we do get a foot pivot. His wheels for the vehicle mode do tuck in back there. I do think that is pretty nice. I don't think a gap filler like Optimus Prime would have worked here because they do stick out quite a bit. Now we can come up to his shoulder cannon. This is sculpted very nicely. I definitely do like the way that looks. This definitely seems more like a shoulder minigun than a cannon to me. This can move up and down, and we can move it around as well. The head does get in the way and it just popped off like that. Now here's a look at his other blaster. This is pretty plain and simple. We just have some silver paint applications over here, but it does look like a G1 Soundwave blaster. Looking at this figure and then looking at the Bumblebee Studio Series figure, it really is shocking.
I'm you and you're me, and this is a gun.
Honestly, let's go ahead and compare the two so I can artificially inflate the runtime of this video. YouTube loves long videos. So yeah, once again, this is a Voyager class figure and this is a Deluxe class figure, so this is just going to be so much taller. And I guess like as a Voyager class figure, this has more of a budget to it, so it is going to be better, along with being a Studio Series figure. But overall, design-wise, there's not a whole lot of similarities between the two, minus the head sculpts and the chest areas. This one does scream Soundwave to me more than this. I do like the colors on this one a lot more, but this is from the Bumblebee movie, which was trying to replicate that G1 aesthetic, so the brighter colors on here make sense. This is from a video game with a more post-apocalyptic vibe, so these two figures having more muted colors does make kind of sense, although I do think the blue on Optimus Prime would have worked better on this Soundwave. I might just be nitpicking at this point. The colors aren't really the major flaw of this figure. It's really the design of the figure itself. One thing I do like about this Soundwave is the incorporation of some of the play buttons and the fact that this does have an eject button. So as you can see, there's quite a big size difference between these two figures. And here he is next to Bumblebee, a smaller deluxe class figure from the Studio Series War for Cybertron line. And then here he is next to Barricade from that same line. As you can see, it does seem like Soundwave here is just a little bit taller than your average deluxe class figure. But overall, this robot mode gets a 3 out of 10. This isn't really something I would find worthy displaying on my shelf or worthy even keeping. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I have a lot of figures these days. I'm trying to get rid of some stuff and keeping only things that matter to me. Now, to transform this figure, the instructions recommend doing the back piece first, but I personally do not recommend that. So I basically feel like if you do the legs first, that makes the rest of the transformation much easier, because when you pull this out for the transformation, it does get in the way of the legs, and that can make things kind of a hassle. So the first thing I recommend doing is pivoting in the feet just as far as they can go. Next, we can turn over, open up these gap fillers, and then rotate the leg all the way around, bring that foot in, close that gap filler, do the exact same thing with this leg, bring that all the way around, bring that foot in, close that gap filler. Now we can combine the legs and tab them together. The feet don't have a tab or anything, they just kind of rest in place. Come to these fuel tanks on the side and just close them in like so. Now the instructions say to T-pose them. Now we can grab this piece, pull it out, unfold that all the way, and there's another piece in here that we can unfold, and there is some nice detail in here. Grab the rest of this and bring it down, and as you can see, that would get annoying when trying to do the legs, which is why I recommend doing the legs first. Fold out these pieces all the way on both sides, and these are also pieces that get really annoying because they do get in the way of the transformation. Open up his chest and take this piece out. Flip out these panels on the side for both of them. We can just kind of let that rest there for now. Let's bring this up, take his head and bring it back in there. Bring the front up, take this out as well as this, rotate them around and connect them. Now for the arms, we can unfold this and bring that out. These can be a little difficult to get at. Take it out, rotate the arm, bring that in. Once again, rotate the arm, bring this in, swing the arm back here, and then kind of fiddle with it until you can bring it down to the side. We also want to make sure this is in front of the exhaust pipe, but now we can just adjust this, make sure that is tabbed in. Come to the other side and do the exact same thing. Bring that all the way in there and make sure it's tabbed into place. Now we can adjust the front of the truck mode and get that in there and make sure everything is lined up. And here is the truck mode for Optimus Prime. And there's the truck mode for Optimus Prime. I found it to be a pretty straightforward transformation. It was just the front cap part was a little bit wonky because of all the pieces kind of getting in the way. But in the end, you do get something that looks pretty spectacular. This is a fantastic looking truck mode. The truck bed is pretty flat, done incredibly well. This piece sticking out does seem kind of awkward. It might be game accurate though. Once again, I do like these thrusters out on the side. The entire cab of the truck looks really good. This is kind of like an armored Optimus Prime look, and I really do like that. You can still see his matrix poking through. We have these ports on the side for some weapon storage. This whole front of the cab mode looks really good from the side as well as the front. Just looking at it from the side, it looks really nice. Not a whole lot of detail. Here's a quick look at the top. The front is where it looks really sick, and a quick look at the other side. And from the underneath, it does look pretty good. A few things I do like about the transformation steps are how the legs are done and how they just kind of fold in. Another thing I like is how this grill piece is folded up and into the chest for the robot mode. And from the front, he is looking just so good. Now, a few things I don't like. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a port or anything for adding a trailer. I mean, you can just kind of like rest it on there, but that's not really gonna work. Another thing I don't like is this grill piece and basically this entire piece over here. I mentioned how I didn't like it in the robot mode, and it really doesn't help when it comes down to the transformation. It did kind of get in the way of things, and it does seem like both are kind of bent on my copy of the figure. I don't know if that is because of me personally or if my copy of the figure just came like that. So this piece is just something I'm not particularly fond of. Tire detail does look nice. Now coming up to the front, we do have this really sick looking bumper piece. Now my main issue with this is that it has this like weathered and damaged look to it, when the rest of the figure has a more pristine and clean look to it. So having one area be like this doesn't really look too good. And I'm honestly glad this weathered look wasn't given to the whole figure, because every time Hasbro does a weathered look, it turns out kind of ugly. Figure doesn't roll too well. And as you can see, his abdomen piece is pretty close to the wheels, so you might end up scratching this when trying to roll it around. There is a bit of hollowness at the back over here. These bits don't really cover it up all the way, but for the most part, as I said earlier, this trailer section is pretty good. Overall, I think I give this vehicle mode a 7 out of 10. Now let's transform Soundwave and check out his vehicle mode. Now to transform this figure, the first thing I want to do is untab the head, and we can flip that over. Come down to the legs, and we can rotate this 180 degrees. Same with this one, rotate that. Take this panel, bring it up, take out this wheel, and now we can close that panel once again. And I do kind of like that type of engineering. Same thing over here, bring that out, rotate the wheel out, and close that panel. Now we can grab the back piece and unfold it, grab the legs of the figure and bring this out. The chest piece is on a hinge, so make sure to grab that and pull that out as well. We can now come to these front wheels, bring both of them out, and then we do need to hinge them out a bit more like so. Now for the arms, grab it from here and then rotate it in this way. Same with this one, grab that and bring that in this way. And this does tap into there. The connection isn't the best, and honestly, I don't really think it makes that much of a difference in the transformation. Grab this wheel section, make sure it's lined up with the legs, and now we can fold this in on itself. These legs do slot into there. For a final adjustment, make sure this piece is out. Same with the one on this side, bring that out, and we can take this piece and bring it up. And here is the vehicle mode for Soundwave. Aesthetically, it does look a lot better than the figure's robot mode. It's still not a great looking vehicle mode. I will say there is quite a bit of detail on it. Like this entire back section is pretty jam-packed with detail, and it does look like basically an armored military vehicle, which probably does make sense for the vibe and story the game is going for. I do like how the front of the chest mode is now the front of the vehicle mode. We do have some nice rugged tires. There is some hollowness underneath here, but it's not too big of a deal since it is underneath the figure. What I don't like are the feet sticking out at the back. That is pretty obvious and does look kind of ugly. Also, this entire section behind the wheel does also look a little bit ugly. Unlike the Studio Series figure, this is a pretty comprehensible vehicle mode. It's fairly alright looking. These hinges on the side do kind of detract from the figure, but they are kind of necessary for it to be there. I do kind of like the inclusion of the armored windows. From the top, this area does look kind of like a mess. I wouldn't call this a detail. It just looks really messy. We do have some red paint applications for the headlights over there. Doesn't roll too well. There is a size comparison of the two. As you can see, the Optimus Prime is just so much larger. He is once again a Voyager class figure. I'm probably going to give this vehicle mode maybe a 4 out of 10. This Soundwave figure is quite disappointing, especially when you're paying $65 for the price of two figures, even though one of them is a deluxe class and a Voyager class. We've gotten some pretty good deluxe class figures in the past, so this is pretty disappointing. Huge thank you to all my patrons on Patreon. And here's a really interesting figure of an Optimus Prime that transforms into a camera.